Wait, all for one. Wait, is that? I feel like that's either Guess and I or Shaz. I recognize that name. Shaz, okay, that's what it was. Wait, so what have you been up to? You still play DC, I'm assuming? How much did you get for it? 1K, 2K, 3K? $2K? Alright. That's legit. Wait, so what you on now? Because I was gonna say, I was like, Final Fantasy just, oh, I was gonna say they just revamped PvP and it's low-key addicting. It's like they still have to do balance changes, but it's low-key kind of fun. Okay. Wait, wasn't wait, was Black Desert that game or whatever that you showed me like a while back that had like fucking camera shake on like some of the effects and stuff, wasn't it? I can't remember. I feel like you or somebody else showed me that game. Cause like whatever I was watching, I think had a whole bunch of like earth or fire based spells if I remember right, and also lightning. It may have been a trailer that was like previewing some of the different shit, if I remember right. Okay, yeah, so that's Black Desert. Alright. Then yeah, I roughly remember it. That shit's been a minute. Wait, so question, what made you decide to go ahead and sell what's the name of it? What made you decide to go ahead and sell your account or whatever? Just got tired of the skill point grind or what? Cause like I know it's up to like 700 and something now if I remember right. Yo, just like I don't even like, even though I still play in order to sell cash, it's like I don't actually, what's the name of it? I don't actually play that game anymore. Like I'm at like 100, 120, 110 skill points, some basic shit like that. Like, I got enough just to get my crits, that's all I care about. I'm not grinding out 500, 600, 700 skill points, fuck that. I was just like, I'm hoping by the time it breaks 1,000 skill points, they go ahead and reset that shit. Like I'm hoping they just milk the shit out of it, but then as soon as it hits 1,000, it's like I'm hoping that becomes the point that they go ahead and say, all right, we need to go ahead and we need to switch shit up. Like you can't be having 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 skill points eventually, like years from now. But like we can't, we can't keep doing that shit, bro. That's too many time capsules for niggas to try to come back on. It's just too much. Like, it's already a lot as is, but it's just gonna keep getting worse. It's not even funny. But, what was I about to say? But yeah, I've just been chilling over here. It's like I got a lot of, how can I put this? I got a lot of bullshit drama technically in regard to a bunch of fucking venues over here, because I opened a venue over here which is like, I guess you could say like a business slash hangout or whatever. Basically got to like number 3, number 4 for Aether or whatever in terms of like size and popularity and shit, and it was doing good. And then somebody decided to fake a document calling me a pedophile. And some fucking body over on another data center decided to get pissed off at a fucking argument that we had and decided to spread that across a whole bunch of different places. So now I got people over on JP and EU in a bunch of cases calling me a pedophile, so now I gotta beat a whole bunch of people's asses apparently. So now I gotta go back to the shit we was on back on DC apparently. So I thought I got away from the fucking toxicity, so apparently now I gotta start walling over here now. Cause niggas wanna be on some bullshit. So I'm just over here just farming for Gil and shit. I'm just waiting for a friend in order to get what's the name of it, to get online. Right? Not even that, my dude. Like I'm about to be on some shit like what we did to fucking Swag whenever we locked his ass down. Like Swag got locked the fuck up. Like not like literally, but I mean like metaphorically, he got locked the fuck up. That nigga could not go nowhere without just everything happening. That nigga was followed, that nigga was harassed, that nigga was everything. Banned, everything. Like that nigga could not take a step without somebody being on his ass. But yeah, Perfect Cell is already coming out, but technically in an improved format or whatever. That's already going to be happening because there's like 20, 30 plus niggas I got to go through and I got to out because niggas on some bullshit on this game, bro. Right? It's just been a minute. Do. But what's the name of it? What made you want to go to like strictly watching anime? Now you see why I wanted that name. What's the name of it? Why I wanted the name L so fucking bad. It was like I actually no, not L. It was Kira. It was Kira that if I remember right, because I think L got banned, but Kira was villain side, and I was gonna buy it, but I missed the nigga that was selling the name, and he sold it to somebody else that didn't want to resell it, and I was like, fuck. Like that name Kira was fucking god tier. Bro, Kira's on hero side now? That's legit. If I wasn't on the fucking money grind, I would have been snatched that shit up. That's legit. That was just like if I didn't swear off of fucking exploits, I'd say on the next exploit I'd go through and snatch it. I just have an army of ults at this point, and I'm pretty much good. Oh wait, is this him? But what was I about to say? I can't even think of it. If this wouldn't be right now, but later on or whatever, if I gave you, what's the name of it? If I gave you an account or whatever, would you hop on and try PvP for Final Fantasy? And Elysium advertisement. Nah, it's actually like, it's like stupid simple. Like literally the loadouts are now like DC level, kind of. Like they simplified the fuck out of PvP. That, and they also made a casual and then a rank mode. Casual mode is just full of fucking, like, because PvP is so addicting, there's just a bunch of casuals that don't know shit like that. Like all of the tryhards are all inside of ranked or whatever. It's like there's not any tryhards at all inside of normals like that. But give me 1 second, I gotta go through and I gotta do some trades on my other console really quick. It's 2 mil. Ooh. But what was I about to say? But yeah, it's what's the name of it? 'Cause I think whenever you played, it was still like 40v40 and shit like that. They went through and they added a 5v5 mode. It's a 5v5 mode, and it's like kind of like domination slash capture the flag. There's literally just a crystal that you stand in order to push it. So you just kill people and move the crystal. It's pretty much it. Nah, I'm about to head into an instance in order to farm some money or whatever. I got somebody that I what's the name of it, that I owe for fucking housing. I had to pay like 500 million over time for a house because I got fucked out of one of my houses. I had one of the best plots inside of a neighborhood on this game, and somebody else wanted it, right? Or whatever. I had a large plot inside of the neighborhood called Mist or whatever, which is basically like a beach neighborhood. And I had one that was sitting on top of a hill looking down to all the other houses and shit. And I had to pay like 600 mil for that. And so somebody else wanted that specific plot. I didn't technically care about the plot. I just wanted a large plot. I didn't care about that specific location on the fucking beach and shit. And so they had one that was inside of lavender beds in the forest. And I was like, cool, I can go through and I can take that, right? So we're supposed to go through and I'm supposed to move my house to another location, and then they move their house to where I'm at, and then I move my house to where they're at, right? So we end up doing a, what's the name of it, a plot swap. These motherfuckers done lost the damn plot to a fucking random, right? They went through and they had somebody at the little, at the placard or whatever, which is like the little UI thing that you interact with in order to buy the house. They had somebody that was sitting there waiting, and they had 2 people on fucking standby to watch and make sure nobody else came up. And for whatever reason, they fucked up and didn't buy the house whenever I fucking moved. And so a random was able to come up and get my fucking plot for like 50 million when I paid 600 for it. And because they didn't move into my fucking house, I wasn't able to move into their plot. So I just flat out like they gave me 200 million in order to do the trade. I was supposed to go through and I was supposed to get their large plot in 200 mil. So I ended up getting the 200 million before I moved, but I couldn't get their large plot. So I just lost like 400 million in fucking housing value, and I didn't have a fucking large house anymore. And because I needed a large house in order to run my venue, I ended up going through and what's the name of it? I ended up having to go and talk to somebody and make a deal with a friend to go and pay like a really, really high price or whatever. Originally, larges are only like, if you're at the base level, maybe around 300 million, right? So me having 200, I'm already there. However, because they are very, like, how can I put this? Like, they always try to maximize how much money they get from shit. And because of an update that was about to happen that was supposed to basically stop you from being able to easily sell houses, they were trying to get up to 500 million for it, and I didn't want to take a chance on somebody being desperate and coming in and snatching up that one house. And so I ended up going through and locking myself into a deal for fucking 500 million for a fucking house that I'm going through and slowly paying off still. I have that to pay off, and then I have one of my managers to pay off, and then I'm pretty much done. After that, I'm just going to be stacking up a shitload of money until I start doing shit like how we did back on DC. Like, I'll probably be raiding maybe late this year, maybe next year, something like that, or whatever. But right now, I just really want to get on a grind, because roughly speaking, I can farm like 100, like whatever, like I told you before, and I can farm like 100+ million every day if I want to, in terms of items, which is like, that's like $150 worth. It's like, it's a ridiculous amount of in-game cash, like a stupid amount. Yeah. Ooh. Go through a wave. Fetch. Whoa. Wrong controller. Alright. What was I about to say? But yeah, just a ridiculous amount of fucking money, because it's not normal. Most people have a tough time just even getting a few million, so to be talking about getting several hundred million is ridiculous. And it's like, it's all because of like all the characters that you see inside of my group right now on the left hand side. All of those are me. All of those are alts. Those are all memberships that I'm paying for right now in order to grind out items and shit. So it's like, ooh, not only did I go through and find something efficient to farm, but I found something that lets me do like what I do on DZ and have an army of alts. So, nah, that's all me. So, now I gotta get my, I'm about to get Emma Silk back online, and then after that, I'm about to head in. Cause I was using my other console in order to trade a friend that was on another world. I fucking slid one of my friends an extra. I slid him an extra 10 mil or whatever. Apparently, it's just enough to for what he needed in order to bet on another house. He's gonna try. He's gonna go through and try to get another house, so that's good. All right. Here we go. Make sure I still got everything I need to farm out and shit. Yeah, I still got two profane essences. I'm good. Go ahead and tell only a party leader mate. God damn it. Let me switch over. I think I made voice sent the leader. So if I hit this, should be able to promote. And boom, there we go. Now I'm party lead again. Let me go ahead and head up in here and go ahead and get my next 3 hours knocked out. And accidentally dropped my mic. Oh well, doesn't matter. Get my laptop there, get my phone over here. Alright. Let me get that off of my screen. Let's see, did they put me in a they put me inside of an instance with other people. Oh yeah, good much Broco. This is still technically in the old phase. Somebody's already at the 60 timer. That's interesting. It's hella interesting. Because normally they don't do that. I was about to say, I'm not supposed to be seeing a fucking Reaper loadout right now. I was about to say, And let me go on my Emma character. Get my bloodsucker so I can heal from doing damage. And then hop on voicing status. So there's one character. That was voted Gucci. Voted Gucci was watching a cutscene. Let me actually check that character. That character is not supposed to be watching cutscenes. Because that causes my fucking PC to lag up and shit. So normally I have that option disabled. Might have accidentally. No, it's there. So it's just lag. Because I was gonna say, because that shit lags the fuck out of my PC if I have to watch cutscenes. And I was like, none of my characters should ever be watching cutscenes. Let me go ahead and head back. But yeah, got the fucking one man weight group on this fucking game. Go ahead and drop my alt over. But yeah, so see, like these little fourth legion ads and shit, these drop, these have a chance to drop rather, these little items called clusters. And clusters can get used in order to buy different emotes inside of the game. There's a hairstyle, there's a mount, and there's also a little parasail that people who roleplay can go through, and they can use to put a little umbrella over their head and shit like that whenever it starts raining in game, blah blah blah. So it's like they're items that essentially always have a demand. Like there's never going to be a time where people don't want emotes. There's never going to be a time where people don't want umbrellas. Never going to be a time where people don't want to collect all of the mounts inside of the game or different hairstyles. And it's something that people will want on their alts as well or whatever. They may not just want it on their fucking main. So there's pretty much always going to be a demand for these particular items. And so I use both of my PS4s to go through and to have one character that's tanking, aka the Emma Silk character that's inside a group, and then I'll go through and I'll DPS it using my main, aka voice int that I'm currently streaming with. And whenever I go through and do that, anybody inside a group ends up getting loot. And so all of the other 6 characters that I have AFK inside of the spawn will also end up getting what's the name of it? They'll also end up getting clusters for whenever I go through and kill this. And because of that, that ends up causing me to be able to get a ridiculous amount of money. Because these, if you try to group this many ads together at the same time, normally by yourself, it's a pain in the ass. Normally you have to play a very particular class, a very particular setup if you want to be able to do it, right? It's almost like needing like whatever. It's almost like, oh, if you want to solo this boss, or if you want to tank this SM boss in so and so way, oh, you need Aya Gemini so therefore you can heal yourself back up, or you can spam your supercharged shield, whatever it may be, right? Like you have to have a very specific setup if you want to be extremely tanky. And so it's like most people don't have that, and so because they don't have that, they require 2 people to be able to do this. But there's not that many tanks, and so most people can't even come in here and even farm clusters like that. They can't even group the ads together like what I can, and that ends up hurting because unlike DC, on DC whenever you do AoE, the damage ends up splitting unless you're like electricity. On here, damage does not split, and so because damage doesn't split, you want to have everything grouped up, so therefore it ends up burning at the exact same time, and you just end up getting extra loot for the same time commitment. And so they end up having to spend significantly longer to kill the same amount of ads as what I do. And so not only am I at an advantage just in terms of killing the ads or whatever, but I'm also at an advantage because most of them are not going to be leveled up or whatever. Another thing that I have in here is that because I've spent so many hours farming content, even though there's a good amount of people that have it, not everyone that's farming clusters has it, is I have a permanent 30% damage buff that ends up making my farming faster than other people's. And so I have higher damage than most people. I have more sustain than most people because I have access to a tank and a bursting DPS. And even if they match that, I have 8 times the loot that they have. And I can keep that permanently. So even if they have a friend that wants to farm, the chances that you're going to have a friend who wants to sit in here and farm resources for say 12-15 hours is not going to be like that. Yep, it's a permanent 30% damage buff. If you look at the very top of my screen, you'll see a little red icon with the number 10 next to it. That is 10 stacks of honor, which is each of those is a 3% damage buff while I am inside of the zone or whatever. The blue one is extra health. I believe each stack is like 5% extra health, so I only have 5% extra health. But the green one is extra healing output, which is I believe 10% per, so I have like an extra 20% healing inside of here as well. Like it can go up to 10 stacks for each of them. So I've only maxed damage output because that's the only one that I cared about. I'm already tanky enough, so I don't need the extra health, and I don't need extra healing output as of right now. So all I did was just max the damage and leave it at that. But most people don't even have this that are technically going through and trying to farm. Most people that are trying to farm are people that are new to Boja. They haven't went through all of the ranks, all of the story, all of the content, etc., and grinded out everything to even be as strong as what I am. So it's like, it's a small pool of players that can even farm like me. And then even whenever you get to talking about that pool, the amount of them that are going to put in as many hours as me that have ults to the same level as me is slim. It's like, even if you go through and you have a group of friends and say you put in 3 hours, and let's say you get 3 times as much loot as me, right? Let's say you get 3 times as much loot. The issue is, because I have 3-4 ults, if you put in 3 hours and I put in 3 hours, I still get the same amount of money as what you got. It's like, even though you had, even though you were more efficient, I had the ults in order to still give me the same amount of income. So I'm gonna end up winning anyway. I was just like, it becomes impossible for somebody to try to match my stock, just because of the amount of characters that I have. And that's just right now. I'm gonna end up getting more later. But it's like, I pretty much run, well, not whenever I'm not preoccupied via other responsibilities, I pretty much run the North American market for this item, or whatever. For any of the items that come inside of here, I pretty much control the market. I can go through and I can crash any world that I want to, set whatever prices I want to, because nobody can match my stock. So if I want to crash any market, I can go through and I can do it, and there's nothing anybody can do. Because once you go down to a certain price or whatever, it goes through and it starts bulk selling throughout the day. So if they crash it anywhere lower than what I normally do, 1, it's going to instantly sell within a day, and 2, they're not going to be able to restock it. So normally, let's say for example, so like, let's just say the main thing that I normally buy is emotes or whatever. And so, actually, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's fucking emotes or whatever. So for these clusters that you're seeing pop up on my screen, if I trade 50 of those, I can get an emote. Now that emote, depending on where I'm selling it, can go anywhere between 500k to $1 million. So that's normally me. Sometimes I'll go through and I'll tank it to 250, 300k. I'll go through and I'll tank it to about half. And the reason I do that is because selling at 500, 600,000, you may only sell maybe 1 to 2 a day. Normally they don't sell a whole bunch of them in a particular day. However, if I go through and I tank that price, I can sell anywhere between like 5 to 8 of them inside of a day. My fucking selling price, my selling rate skyrockets as soon as I have it. And that becomes important if I'm trying to cash out something in a short time period, which is pretty much what I'm testing the limits of today. So say for example, beforehand, if I was to sell 2 emotes at 500k, okay, I only got $1 million from wherever I was selling it. But if I go through and I put it at say 260 or whatever, so therefore it sells for 250, and I'm able to sell like 6 of them, now I just got 1.5 instead of 1 mil. So I just got 50% extra cash out during that specific day, right? And whenever you take that and you multiply that times 8 worlds, that ends up making a huge difference. If I have 8 worlds that I'm selling on, instead of getting 1 million, now I'm getting 1.5. Instead of 8 million, now I'm getting 12 million. That's a 4 million. That's a 4 million difference. And there's 2 emotes. So now instead of a 4 million difference, now there's an 8 million difference. Then you have the wind callers. Then you have the fucking Construct 14 mounts. Then you have the fucking umbrellas. And so there's a good amount of money that just keeps adding up because of that 50% increase or whatever that I'm able to get inside of 1 or 2 days. So if I ever have an emergency, my fucking selling speed is fucking ridiculous at that point. It's like I can keep the prices steady at full 500k, whatever it may be, if I want to, but at the same time period, if I just want to crash it just to go through and just sell out, I can. And there's nothing anybody can do to stop me because they don't have the amount of stock supply that I have. Because most people only come in here to farm a certain period of time. This is arguably This is almost like exhibit. I was just like, for me, because it's autopilot, it's almost like exhibit farming, but arguably even worse so because it's combat based, which means that you can die. So then it's something that you can't bot because there's people in here. Like, you can go through and you can set up a fucking bot in order to go through and to exhibit farm inside of DC, but you can't set up a bot to do this because there's going to be other people here. And this is an in-game zone. So you have a lot of in-game characters here. So if you become an obvious bot, you end up getting reported, you just lost an in-game character, which is a lot of fucking investment to go through and have. And every single one of these zones is gonna have up to, like, depending on how many, depending on what time it is or whatever, et cetera, you may have up to like 60, 70 other people inside of this fucking zone. So you don't want to technically bot here and have it be extremely obvious because it takes a minute in order to even get here inside of the first damn place. And so that ends up being a fucking issue. And then whenever you get to actually gathering the ads up, it becomes harder because there are people constantly running around, running past the ads and drawing aggro. And so sometimes somebody will go through and run in front of an ad and they'll take aggro, and then I have to go and I have to take it away from them. And so if you try to set up a bot is not going to be able to know, it's not going to be able to pick up that, like, there's an ad being dragged away by somebody, break the route that you're currently running in order to go through and to go pull that ad. And so you can have people that can purposely go through and fuck with your bot if they feel like it in order to shit on your farming. It ends up becoming really hard. Not only do you have a higher ban rate because you're inside of in-game content, which in turn becomes a larger investment for what's the name of it, a larger financial investment that you end up losing, but you also end up what's the name of it, being able to lose farm. Your farm isn't even consistent if you try to bot it. So I have an unbottable market that I pretty much control on this game. So I pretty much hit the jackpot. Because it's very, very hard to find a market that doesn't have bots inside of it. Like, they had a previous version of this inside of one of the other expansions that was a zone similar to this that is controlled by bots. And the main issue is just that it's just all fates. Just pretty much like you know how in DC, like, you would have like the little open world zones and they would just spawn like a portal or whatever, and like next to the portal there'd be like 5 to 10 ads and it'd say kill it and then interact with the portal and it die. It's pretty much like that. They had a fucking zone that was like this one that had a whole bunch of missions like that where you would just end up killing ads or whatever, and because of that they were able to go through and to bot it, and the fucking bots pretty much control that entire fucking market because they can just write a simple combat macro and it ends up working because people can't pull the ads away from where the portal is or whatever. You can't just pull those ads away and you're not going to have a whole bunch of people running around, etc., etc. It's not the same. And because it's older content, there aren't as many people running it, so you have less people running it and everybody is confined into a small zone because of the way that the content works. And so it's a lot easier for them to go through and have like 20-30 bot characters going through and farming it, and because they're doing so much damage, they're denying other people credit, because if you don't do enough damage, don't do enough tanking or healing, you don't get credit for that little portal. And so they're sometimes, depending on time of the day, where people are, sometimes the bots will end up doing so goddamn much damage, blah, 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 that people don't actually even get a chance to get credit. They'll just be flat out locked from even, what's the name of it, from even participating inside of that aspect of the content. They have to go and try to farm guild another way. Like, there's literally tons of fucking videos on fucking YouTube of fucking bots inside of that zone. It's not even funny. And it's funny because I was actually on OCE, which is like Oceania, which is for like the Australians and some Japanese people, for them to get like better ping. Because originally there was just JP or whatever. There wasn't really a server specifically for Australians or whatever, and they went through and made it. But I went through and I went over to Oceania, and I was going through and I was ranking up, and I see a whole bunch of characters teleporting around. Like literally they'll just teleport to one place, teleport to another, and I'm sitting there just looking at just like one common spot for leveling up, and I'm seeing like 20, 30, 40 characters that are just zipping in and out, just fucking teleport hacking all around. It's not even funny. Like the amount of bots inside of this game is fucking crazy because there's so much of a demand, especially after the World of Warcraft people came over. But I'm pretty much waiting for this content to die because probably in like 1 or 2 expansions this zone is probably going to end up dying off, and I want to have my resources and stuff stocked up by then. So therefore, whenever it does eventually die and people no longer need to use this zone for leveling up their jobs and whatnot in order to reach a higher level, when people don't run this anymore, the price is going to go up higher. Because right now I still have random people that are just leveling up their combat classes. They don't even care about making guild. They're just leveling up their combat classes, but they'll end up killing some of these ads and they'll end up making a little bit of money in the meantime. All of those people are going to be gone. And so only the fucking tryhards that are here to farm are going to be left afterward. No. So what happened is, do you know Asmongold or whatever? Do you recognize that name? He's one of the most famous streamers for World of Warcraft. He's a bald guy that plays World of Warcraft. Do you know the name Asmongold? I'm assuming this is going to be a paragraph response. Nah? Okay, so he is a guy that has millions of views or whatever, arguably like I want to say like top 3 World of Warcraft streamer. And after being fucking like going through and like cracking and whatnot on Final Fantasy for the fucking longest, he decided to finally give it a chance. And so he came over along with another guy named Rich Campbell, and they were the biggest 2. They came over and they brought so many fucking people to this game. They literally like crashed the fucking server because they were playing the game. There were a whole bunch of people that were going through and making accounts in order to play with them and shit like that, seeing what the game was like, seeing what all they had to offer, blah blah blah. And so to put things into perspective, right, you know how in DC, whenever you have a whole bunch of people logging in at the same time, right, there's that fucking queue. And sometimes you would see maybe like 100 in line, 200 in line, 300 in line, 500 in line, some shit like that, right? We had so many people, and that's DC, right? We're talking about Final Fantasy 14 right now. We're talking about DC with fucking Daybreak compared to Square Enix, the creators of Final Fantasy, right? Completely different server size. We are talking about like what, like 500, maybe 1,000 sign in on DC tops for one fucking world compared to Final Fantasy, where you're talking about, what is it, like 8 times 3, 6, 9, like you're talking about roughly 70 plus worlds. So you have DC with one world at like 1,000, and you have Final Fantasy 14 with like 70 worlds, and the queues were up to 3,000 to 5,000 per fucking world. People were literally waiting for anywhere between like 2 to 5 hours to get signed into the damn game. They literally had to go through and like add in extra server infrastructure and shit just to go through and try to get people to get into the game. Like literally, I think it was like over like something like a 20, 30, 40% fucking player count increase after the World of Warcraft migration happened. Like the fucking player base just fucking skyrocketed to shit in count. but it basically damn near broke the fucking game because they weren't ready for that type of player migration to go through and to happen. Because you're not gonna expect that. But like that shit was crazy because you had to sign in at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Because you tried signing in at like noon. You tried signing in after you got out of work. Nah, you was gonna be waiting a few hours. You'd be waiting a few hours to get into the game because there was just too many people. Like, freaking, it was crashing too, funny enough, or whatever. Like, literally, like, there would be, I was just like, because they had to go through and they had to implement like a failsafe that would like preserve somebody's place inside the queue. Because if your internet even dipped for like a second like that, what's the name of it, for too long, you'd fuck around and get an error code and you'd get kicked out of the queue. And so if you couldn't reconnect fast enough, you'd actually lose your spot inside of the line and have to start over. So like sometimes you would wait like 1, 2, 3 hours, but then if your internet just dips for fucking too long, you'd fuck around and have to start all over again. So they had to go through and like add in stuff to try to preserve your line for X amount of time. This was like late last year. Like this was after Endwalker release, whenever the new DLC happened, because Asmongold came like late summer, probably like July, August-ish is whenever he came. But then Endwalker, which was the new expansion, dropped inside of November. So you had the World of Warcraft migration plus the DLC expansion that ended this story arc. So ever since Final Fantasy XIV came out until now, that entire storyline is now done or whatever. Endwalker went through and finished that. So that ended up dropping in November, and that's whenever the servers went fucking crazy. And like you can even find like articles and shit like that about it, because it got so bad they had to stop selling copies of the game. They didn't even want new players to come. You couldn't even sign up for free trials because you couldn't even get into the fucking game. If you were a free trial character, you were put inside of the lowest priority to get inside of the game, and you were never let in because there would be people at a higher queue trying to get in all the fucking time. So they literally had to shut down the free trial and stop selling the fucking game because they had too many people trying to play or whatever, because they didn't want people to like pay for the game and then come here and then they just get hit with a fucking 4 or 5 hour queue time to try to get into the game and not be able to. Like, because like that was also like one of the biggest headlines back then, was that it was pretty much unheard of for a game to be so popular that they actually had to stop selling copies because the queues were too long. Like that became a fucking like running meme for the longest. But oh my god. Ooh, but yeah, it blew up though, because now we're at like level 90. So like now you have a whole bunch of different stuff. Like this is technically just healer, but it's like there's a whole bunch of different extra abilities that like now you have relative to like say back in the old days whenever 50 and 60 was the max level. Now your kid is like damn near double what it was. Right? Fucking free trials couldn't do shit. Cause like it was funny too, cause the fucking bards ended up getting hit. Cause like there's the bard combat class inside of here. That can go through and can actually play music or whatever. They have different instruments like different drums, flutes, clarinets. I think they even added a guitar recently, shit like that or whatever. Piano, shit like that or whatever. They have like 30 different fucking instruments they can go through and they can play. And so some people will go through and run like a little program on PC in order to go through and to play music and shit, right? And they went through and they fucking because they ended up hitting the free trial accounts. The free trials are what people used in order to go through and to fucking play music. Because like what they would do is they would go through and they would have like one account that plays X instrument, one account that plays another instrument, blah blah blah, whatever. They'd go through and they'd have a band of different accounts that they would go through and use in order to be able to play music or whatever and play different songs and shit. But those were all free trial accounts. So whenever they locked out free trial accounts, the bards got fucked over. They weren't able to provide concerts unless they ended up buying membership. They had to start chunking out that $12 a month to be able to keep those characters and even have them able to sign into the game. And it also used to suck too for like raiding and shit, because like imagine going through and like raiding, right? Imagine raiding and your internet dips for a second, right? And you get kicked off of the game. You gotta sit through that 2-3 hour queue to come back. You done. Like your group has to start over because you can't come back. There is no just like there's no join in progress inside of this. So they have to leave, grab somebody else, and then come back. You can't even raid. Like even raiding got fucked over because of that. Because if you disconnected, you ended up fucking over your raid group. Like that was the fucking funniest part, because like there would be times like where streamers were about to start raiding or whatever, and then they would just get fucking disconnected, and you would just see like their hopes and dreams just disappear right there on fucking stream. Like, well, guess I'm not raiding today. Because like your team's not gonna wait like another like 3 hours for you to get online. God forbid somebody else inside of the group disconnects during that fucking time period. It's fucking, I don't think it's too fucking annoying. Like there were like so many fucking montages of people fucking raging after they fucking disconnected because you knew you weren't gonna be able to get back into the game like that. That's what some people did or whatever. They ended up just quitting and just coming back after it got better. But it was like, but keep in mind though, this was like the start of the fucking expansion. So like people really wanted to see what the ending of the storyline was. So people wanted to finish the fucking story, which takes like several days, and they wanted to run all the content and shit. So like, if it was happening like in the middle of the DLC, it'd be one thing, but people were putting up with it because the expansion had just fucking dropped. Ooh. And he says, this guy is asking if there's any cluster farming groups. Is he bloodsucker? Let me see if he's a bloodsucker. Let me see if he's a bloodsucker tank. If he's a bloodsucker tank, or whatever, then I can go through and I can split up my group, and I can invite him. What's the name of it? In order to go through and to do shit. He said he can just go through, he can just get a DPS later on, and then they can go through and they can kill ads together while I do zone. While I do this zone, and we're only like 30 minutes in, so if I get zone 2, that's definitely gonna end up saving like 3 hours of my fucking time. If he can go through, he can run zone 2 while I keep here inside of zone 1. So here he is. So I need to drop group. Go through and drop group on Emma. And then I need to ooh. Because if he goes to zone 2 and starts tanking, then if I get any type of DPSs, etc., then I can go through and I can invite them to group, and he can, what's the name of it? I can invite them to Emma's group, and then they can start getting credit, etc., etc. But I definitely want to go through and get as much credit as I can. Stun that, come over here, get this, and boom, boom, boom. Thanks, I'm still good. Yeah, I'm fine. And there we go. Let me see, how many people are inside of this phase? Cause I just got in here with like 8 people. This phase shouldn't be dead. Nah, this phase is still going. We got people that just joined in like 2-3 minutes ago. There's still people joining. It seems like it's a relatively dead-ish phase, but then again, though, it's like 10 o'clock. But yeah, like for PvP or whatever, they added a new 5v5 mode. Or whatever, what is it, but yeah, they went through, they simplified the PvP actions, and then they added a 5v5 mode that's like casual, and then that's ranked. And I went through and I was able to get to the highest tier for ranked, or whatever, for ranked gameplay at least, which is, apparently compared to like the old forms of fucking PvP that were bigger or whatever, it's not as skillful as what it once was. So I'm hoping that they go through and they get rid of some of the fucking cheese and shit, and fucking for some of the fucking next seasons or whatever, it becomes more meaningful to have the fucking the highest tier. But shit is addicting as fuck. Like, I was going through and I was streaming it like a few weeks back because I was going through and just doing shit. Fight me if you're still close to farming. That is Puffy Factory. Let me invite Puffy Factory to group. You. One second. Are you Bloods? Are you Bloodsucker tank or DPS? Alright, head to you can join Gareth. Alright, so he can go through and he can DPS, so that's good. And he has 10 DPS on her, so that's hella good. That's really, really good. So much fucking damage. Oh, by the way, I saw is that still Equilibrium on his account, by the way? I think I still see him whenever I sign in sometimes. Is that still Equal? Let him know he got a machinist coming on the way. If he's doing one-shot machinist, that'd be fucking amazing. We got a one-shot machinist and we got a one-shot healer. That shit would be fucking crazy. You said you had the Equilibrium? Cool. Coolios. Ooh. Now, I don't think I've talked to fucking Dwayne since the fucking shit with my account fucking years ago. It's like I haven't talked to him or the other guy. That was what was his name? Best Control on the US PS4. I haven't talked to him in fucking forever. And so I have to talk to Basic from time to time, but just basic or whatever, it's just business shit. It's not like on a personal level like what it used to be back whenever I was like playing daily and shit. Hold up. Wait. This girl did not. Hold up. Let me mute my shit. This girl did not just send me this on Discord, bro. Oh my goodness. Hold the fuck up. Over here fucking teasing this shit, bro. Oh my goodness. She over here fucking with me. I'm over here trying to fucking farm and make money, and she over here fucking sending me pictures on Discord. This shit crazy. That, and then... Oh shit, my battery's low. Please let me finish the rotation. Please let me finish the rotation. Please let me finish the rotation. Yes, I got this. Alright, coolios. Alright, let me get my controller situated. Make sure it's charging and shit. Yeah, fucking. Cause like her personality fucking caught my fucking interest. So we were we were blunt as hell about shit earlier, and I can't even fucking think of it. Fucking so she's a fucking what's the name? She's a fucking courtesan over on a fucking other world. Well, not like in a, well, actually yeah. Wait, are you? Wait, Shaz, did you disconnect or are you still there? I see like 0 viewers right now. Please don't give me. I still have echo. I'm good. Dude, fucking, why the fuck are there so many people here? Oh, these niggas was doing the fade. I was about to say, bro, there should not be this many people just sitting here. So all those characters are around the 100 mark for fucking clusters. That's good. That's a full life.